Hey y'all, welcome back to Poplar Creek Farm. Tonight I want to do a video to talk a little bit about something that I think is hugely important with the way everything in the world is going right now. I think there is a huge movement and a huge push for homesteaders, home gardeners, farmers and whatnot to become more self-sufficient. And that's something that my husband and I have always been working towards. And we are really just beginning our journey to get towards self-sufficiency, but it's something that has always been our end goal. It's not like we went into this just for fun or because we liked gardening or liked animals. Like, we always had that end goal of being self-sufficient. So it's something that we have kind of made decisions based on. Have we always made the right decision to get to self-sufficiency? No, absolutely not. Financially, that's probably the biggest struggle, to make good decisions when there's still like certain things you want. So we built a new house. We bought acreage and we built a new house, and looking back, could we have probably found a house that was already built that had some structures on it to kind of get us a little bit closer to self-sufficiency sooner? Yeah, probably. And we probably spent a little more money than we would have had we done that. It's fine though, we did it, and we live and learn. And we love our house and we love our land, so we are very happy with it. But just there's things we could have done differently. So I think becoming self-sufficient is a huge financial step too. And that's probably, for me, I would think that's the biggest hurdle, is the finances, because we are used to working on two incomes, budgeting on two incomes. We are used to making decisions based on two incomes. So, okay, yeah, we want to build a barn. Let's go get the material and go build a barn. Well, if one of us isn't working, or we're kind of getting towards where we want to be with self-sufficiency, and I think you can be self-sufficient while working, but I think it's a lot harder. And so we do want to eventually get down to one of us working. But that's going to be more difficult if we want to go build something or we want to do projects. So I think getting rid of debt is huge. Now, that is something that we've worked for, towards anyways. Obviously, we have a mortgage. Most, families do. And that's not something that's going to go anywhere overnight. We just built this house and we just moved in January, so we still got about 30 years on our mortgage. If we can pay it off sooner, great, and that would be a goal of ours. But we did want to pay off any debts that we could, so cars, things like that, trying to get those paid down. So we've paid off my husband's car. I have a work vehicle, so we don't have that payment. Eventually, if I stop working or whatnot, we'll need a vehicle, but try to get things like that paid down. Our tractor from Clinton Tractor in Clinton, New York, we had a New Holland tractor, and they had 0% interest for 84 months. So those are the kind of debts I'm not paying off early because there's 0 interest. But paying off any of our debts, the solar panels, we do have debt on that, and we want to get those paid off so that they can be paying us back pretty much. And so those are the first, in my opinion, the first steps towards self-sufficiency, is getting more financially stable and getting to a point where we have less debt. Now, one of the things I like to kind of talk about is, what is self-sufficiency? I think it depends on you. I think each person kind of has their own vision of what self-sufficiency is. To me, do I need to be doing everything for myself? 100%. No. I don't think that you need that to be self-sufficient. I think I can still go to Walmart and buy clothes, or I can still go to Target and buy clothes, but I want to know that if those places aren't around, that I can provide food for my family, and then we can survive. I'm not right now, making our own clothes. I'm not doing all that. Eventually, maybe we'll get some sheep and spin some wool and do things like that, but that's not realistic to do it all right now. And I don't think that's necessary to be self-sufficient. I think it's great if you can do all those things, but I think food comes first, at least in my opinion. That's just my vision of what self-sufficiency is. To me, if everything kind of fell apart in the world, worse than it is right now, could we survive? That's self-sufficiency to me. I want to be able to provide most of our food. Am I ever going to provide 100% of our food? Probably not, but I want to provide at least 90% off of our own land. Because if you're providing 90% of your own food, more than likely you can get to 100% and, be fully self-sufficient if something happened. The things that we're not really providing right now are, wheat, or oats or something to have for flour. We're not providing dairy at this point. We actually aren't really providing much of anything yet. Our chicks are about a month, they're a little over a month old now. And so they will, another 3 months, start producing eggs. So there's one of our food self-sufficiencies. That is something that we can count on, and we can eat. And they will be there for at least a couple years. And then in June, we are getting our meat birds. I think meat is huge to be self-sufficient. Now, we're getting Cornish cross, but they're not my ultimate goal for meat birds, self-sufficiency wise, because you can't really raise out Cornish cross to hatch, to lay eggs. It's really hard to do. You can do it. It's possible, but it's not an easy feat. So it's not something I really consider wanting to do. So those are kind of a temporary. Those are like to get us through this first year. We just got the ducks, we got the chickens downstairs, so we don't want to be adding on too much extra. But in the future, I'd like to get a dual purpose bird, which we have. We have dual purpose birds. That's part of what we have downstairs is barred rock, or Plymouth rock is another name for them. They are a dual purpose. Rhode Island red can be as well, but barred rock is a well-known dual purpose. I do want to get a dual purpose that is like has a tendency to go broody, because if we didn't have power, I don't want to have to rely on an incubator. So I would like to have, some broody hens, but that's down the road. So we want to get dual purpose so that we can hatch our own. We can have eggs from whatever breed, barred rock. Hatch them. Those will be straight run, and those will be our meat birds, but continue to keep some hens every so often so that we can replenish, our supply of laying hens and whatnot. And that's really important for self-sufficiency. You can't go to a store, or you can't order chicks online if, things are falling apart. Or if you just want to be self-sufficient, just because you want to be self-sufficient doesn't mean you're a prepper. I don't consider myself a prepper in any way, but I do want to be prepared for basically just things are going to change in the world. The climate is changing, so the food chains are going to change. I don't think it's like, zombie apocalypse or anything, but I do think things are going to change. And so that's, if you have something that's dual purpose and you can raise your own, you're just one step closer to self-sufficiency. And I think that's huge. Obviously meat is not the only food you eat. So we gotta have a garden. We're gonna have a huge garden. But just having a garden doesn't make you self-sufficient. So there's multiple steps in this. Where are you getting your seeds from? I ordered all my seeds this year. They all came from, fruition seeds, Johnny selected seeds. I got some, I think I have some burpees. I've got some Baker's Creek. So I've got a variety of different places, but again, that's not self-sufficient. I'm putting money into something that I could be doing myself. I couldn't do it before I had the plants and had the seeds. But this year, coming up, I plan on saving as many seeds as I possibly can. So from plants that are realistic to save from. I do plan on trying to save onion seeds, which are one of the more hard seeds to save because you have to wait. It's a biennial. Do seeds every 2 years. So you have to plant onion from the previous year back in the ground the next year, and that'll produce flour, which has the seeds. So these are things that I want to do. Tomatoes obviously are easy to save seeds from. Peppers. I have some hybrid peppers though, so I'm not 100% how great the seeds will be if I save them, but it's still food. It may not be the perfect pepper that I had, had the year before, but it's going to be a pepper. Seeds like that. And also then you save your seeds, you plant them, you harvest, then what? Well, you can harvest all this food all at once or, through the summer. And that's not going to get you through the winter, right? Unless you know how to preserve your food. So food preservation is also hugely important to me. And I think it's extremely important to being self-sufficient. So as of right now, I know how to water bath can, and I know how to dehydrate foods. That's about it. I know how to pressure can. I haven't done it yet. We didn't have a garden last year. We had like a very small garden in my aunt's house last year. because we were in the process of building our new house. The year before, I just didn't pressure can. I wasn't exactly confident in my ability, so I didn't. But this year, plan on pressure canning, plan on water bath canning, anything that can be water bath canned, dehydrating some of our foods, freezing some, but I'm trying to stay away from the freezer as much as possible, just because, again, if power's out, you know, your food can go bad pretty quick. So I want to have jars of food that I know are shelf stable for a year. And so that's very important. And then we need to plan our meals around these foods. Also plan your garden around what you like and what you eat. So I'm not going to plant 100 squash plants when I'm pretty much the only one in my family, in my household, that eats squash. But my kids love tomatoes. They love pasta with sauce, so tomatoes make sense. Also, you know, they eat tons of corn, tons of peas, green beans, broccoli, things like that you can or freeze, and my family eats. What can I do, though, to, you know, kind of stretch things? Okay, we don't eat these foods all the time, but we are going to start eating them more, and we are going to start incorporating canned veggies into our diet, into our meal planning, so that we use what we have, what we've grown, and so we can save some money. That is part of the goal with this, is to save money. I think all of these things, it can sound like a lot to do. I think they're all achievable for even somebody working full-time. I mean, my husband and I both work full-time, and we are planning to achieve, my goal is 90% of our food come from our own land within pretty much not this coming year, through next growing season, pretty much. Because this year we're starting out small, my 2,000 square foot garden, that I would love to expand. But we're starting out somewhat smaller than I would like to, and we will move up and grow more. Before we were doing all this, before we had our land, when we were kind of just in the dream stage, which we still are somewhat in the dream stage, because there's still a lot of things that I want to do, you know, dairy, goats, pigs, all that. So we're still in dream stage about a lot of things. But before we were even started on things, the first thing I did was buy books. You can read 1,000,001 stories or, you know, articles on Pinterest and online and whatnot. Obviously watch YouTube. But I think books are hugely important because it's something that will never go away. I have tons of books, tons. This is, my stack here is like half of my my stash of books. But seed saving, preserving your own seeds, kind of important if you need to save food and have food for the next year, or save seeds so you can have food for the next year. So I have a book that I can always refer back to. I can highlight pages, I can look through. Now I can tell you this book was a little bit confusing. It says Back to Basics, and it's supposed to be kind of a simple guide, but it was a little bit confusing. But there's still a lot of really good information in here, and I ordered it on Amazon. And now I always have this resource to go back to. So to me, that's just really good. Growing fruits and berries. We are having, we're starting an orchard. In June, my blackberry, raspberry, blueberry, elderberry bushes, that's all of them, they all come. So this is, again, another resource. It talks about pruning your trees, because that's extremely important if you want to be able to get the highest yield possible for your tree. And so this is just a resource to go back to. Hands down, 100% favorite resource is Mother Earth News. Last September, my husband and I and my parents actually went to the Mother Earth News Fair in Pennsylvania, and that was invaluable. The amount of information that we learned was just incredible. They are such a good resource, and so I get these, my in-laws actually purchased these for me to come monthly. And these are ones that, I have a stack of them. I never throw them away. They're not something that I get rid of, because these have so much information to go back to. Like right now, I'm not raising goats. I hope to, and I'm hoping to, have my own goats that have kids. So this is something I can go back to. In a few years, I'm going to go back and read these articles so that I'm prepared. It's just something that these are, and then when we go to, Tractor Supply, Lowe's, whatever, a lot of times pick up magazines, and this is one of them. It's just, about chicken coop playgrounds, and how to, make them fun so your chickens don't get bored, and how to build a chicken coop and a brooder and everything. And it's just a resource. It's a really good thing to have. I think people have gone so much online, which, I mean, hello, I'm on YouTube, so I'm online too, but I think people forget how good books and, actual having material is good to have. Here's just a couple more. Companion Planting, which really, really good book, but I'm not 100% sold on the companion planting. Food Forest, which so cool, such interesting stuff. Basically like building guilds. This is one like a tree guild where you have like the tall tree, you have a medium, and all the different levels and whatnot, and binding plants, and there's more on this, the canopy, the sub canopy, all that kind of stuff. But it's really, really cool, and these are books that, again, I can always refer back to. This isn't one that I have read yet. I have, kind of skimmed, but I haven't read it. But it's just a huge resource. And then this. So we have 13 acres. We have lots of land, but I would like to use as little of our land as possible. Although I have a 2,000 square foot garden, I would like to overall not use as much space as I can, because I like to keep it as raw and natural as I can. We have woods, which we're not touching unless there's a tree that's coming down, or like we have a cherry tree that has wire through it and it's gonna die anyway, so we'll probably cut it down. But overall, I want to keep the land raw. We have a huge field in the back that is full of wildlife. There's always butterflies and bees, and there's milkweed and goldenrod and all these things that are so good, and then people want to get rid of nowadays. They want to just farm it or whatever, turn it into pasture. So I'm trying to keep some of this raw. So I want to use as little of my land as I can. So this is, Self-Sufficiency on a Quarter Acre, Mini Farming. All of these books were pretty much ordered on Amazon. They're just ones, I look up basically gardening books or whatnot, and they come up, and it's so nice to have a good resource like that. I think there's so much I could talk about with self-sufficiency. I think it's something that's just so important. I think if we all started to grow more food, as much food as you can, even if it's a patio garden, in buckets and whatnot, grow as much as you can. It's just less shipping, more foods that you're supposed to eat. You're supposed to eat regionally. That's how our bodies are designed. It's best to eat regionally. It's one of those things that's like, I know we can grow certain things up here that, people in the South can't grow, but I'm going to grow what I can here and eat regionally. Again, less shipping, less gas, because, trucks driving everything all over the place. Again, you're just keeping things to your region. So native plants, which help pollinators. Extremely important to help the pollinators. So I think there's so many things that can, you can benefit from this. And I just wish more people would do it. And I think right now there's a huge push for it, which makes me so happy. But I think there's a lot more that we can do. And I will keep you guys updated along our journey as we get towards self-sufficiency, and kind of let you know, okay, are we at the 90% in a year and a half from now? That's my goal, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be there. What are my struggles? What did I have issues with getting to self-sufficiency? Did I realize I needed to plant a lot more, or I could plant a lot less, or, whatnot? We will keep you updated along our journey here, becoming self-sufficient. But that's my spiel for the night, and I could talk about all this for hours, talk about gardening and farming and becoming self-sufficient. But I really hope that, you guys learned a little something, or at least join us on our journey, so that you guys can see what it's like to become self-sufficient. Thank y'all for joining me tonight, and please like and subscribe and join me on the next one.